Inside Thursday night, how's it going? Alright, strip back, good crack, multi-trade podcast. Share the knowledge you know, help to make our sector grow. Everybody's learning from experts and the journeyman. Insights.
Right, we're back. Season 8, Episode 1. I'm Stephen Buckley.
I'm Keith Delahan.
And this is Inside the Stripped Back podcast, sponsored by Robust Lighting, the world's leading LED lighting company.
And brought to you in association with Snickers Workwear Ireland.
Alan, thanks for taking the time to join myself and Keith in the studio. I know we made a bit of a boo-boo this week and we got the day wrong, but we finally got in and we're getting it sorted.
It was a little bit of a mishap with the 30th and the 29th, but look, I think initially it was in Australia and then it was the 29th, but I double checked and I was like, it is the 29th. You said the 29th, but
yeah.
You know, it's a new tactic that we're going to be using this season anyway, to make sure our guests are well rested, seeing as they'd have a good night's sleep in one of the nearby hotels.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, look, I mean, as I was speaking to you last night, I happened to get up last night and seen it was right next to Tala Stadium, the hotel, and I was like, just checking in, and I seen up on the screen that Shamrock Rovers were playing Galway, and I was like, that's hardly tonight, it was a Wednesday night, so I checked it, and it was on. So that was my night last night, was Shamrock Rovers in Galway. And it was, I didn't even realise it was the league decider that it was at until literally the whistle blew and they're like singing Champions. Is this yeah. But it was a bit like underwhelming when they won. It wasn't, they didn't go wild. It was very tame. So
they've had a hard bit of it now over the last couple of weeks with results and stuff. So
I checked the form. They were dropping. Like they could literally have left the league behind them. And I think the last 5 games or something, they might have drew or won one game or something.
Yeah.
So they needed, I think, a point would have got them the league last night, but they won.
You've seen on your Instagram today as well, you had like a full circle moment from seeing somebody on the sideline as well.
Yeah, so I did a podcast. I actually thought it was a few podcasts ago, but it was episode 32. So I did a bit of digging today while I was in my downtime. And it was episode 32. I did a podcast. So back in the day, there's a thing called the Kennedy Cup, which it's just for, I think it's under 13s is the age group for soccer. And at the time I was playing with the Westcork team and we had John Caulfield as our manager because he's a Ballyneen native, I think, in Westcork. So he got in with the Westcork team and he was training us. And he said something that stuck with me at the time. And he said, if you look professional, you play professional. So he made us scrub our boots and he made us, like, everybody going out, the boots were checked when we went out to play. And it was just setting the level, setting the standard that when we were going out on the field, that like if we looked the part, we'll play the part. And that stuck with me. And then I twisted that into the business side of things. I was like, if you look professional, you get paid professional. And it resonates in business because if you've got a beat up old van and it's not sign written, and you want to charge top dollar, that's not going to be accepted. Like, whereas if you rock up there with a pristine van, it's nicely sign written, you've got a clean uniform, you look professional, you are going to get paid professional at the end of the day, kind of thing.
Do you think that in general, that's where the downturn has been in the trades and like the need for the likes of you and whoever else is out there coaching to kind of bring that to the forefront for tradespeople and I suppose businesses?
Yeah, well, I think people go through their apprenticeships and usually it depends on who your boss is as well. Yeah. If your boss keeps their cards close to their chest, all you know is you come into work, you keep your head down, the work miraculously appears, you get paid at the end of the week. And I think a lot of people don't educate their staff because they're afraid they'll lose them. And it's like they're afraid that if they train them too much that they'll leave and do their own thing.
Yeah.
But then there's that dilemma of like, what if you don't train them and they stick around? So it's like you have that shit in play. But I think like it's people get their license, and particularly in Australia as well, is depending on the state you're in. Because I spoke with a guy from Western Australia and he said that he has to go through a contractor's course to get his license. So they make you sit a 2-week business course essentially that you get educated, you know the ins and outs of business, and then you are able to start your own business. But in New South Wales, it's a case of once you've got your electrical license, you apply for a contractor's license. Bob's your uncle, jump in a van, away you go. And it's like, it ruins the industry as well, because if they don't, like, most people just go, I think my boss used to charge X amount, I'm just going to undercut that by a little bit and I'll be right. And it's like, when they don't realize that the cost of doing business, of their insurances, the vehicles, the registration, wear and tear, public liability, workers' comp, loss of tools, loss of damage of equipment, all this comes into play, and they don't realize that that needs to be covered in their hourly rate as well, which they're not even making enough to break even. And as we spoke about before the podcast, praying that the tax man can pull a miracle from somewhere and that they don't have to pay a tax bill. So, but I think the ball has been dropped. Like, the ball's been dropped a lot by employers and stuff, by not educating their staff and just telling them like what it actually costs for them per hour when they're actually working for their business.
Yeah. And
it just, they need to, basically get that training. And that's what I'm seeing is guys that are coming working with me, they've got drive, they got initiative. They've listened to some of the podcasts and they've said, that's exactly where I want to be, or that's an issue that I can see coming with me in the future. And that's what I'm here to do, is kind of resolve their problems and like beat them to absolutely stuffing up and losing money.
Do you think it's like, in terms of business owners, do you think it's like a secrecy thing where they don't want their employees to know too much about the background thing? Yeah. Like you said, if they become too educated in it, they'll know the ins and outs, and if they're good enough, they'll go out on their own. Do you think it's like a bit of the lack of transparency that's maybe causing that?
I think it's a funny one, because I think, if you give them too much information. But the thing is, I know so many people in so many different businesses, mainly electrical, that are absolute weapons for their company. And I look at them and I'm like, why the hell don't they start their own thing? Mm-hmm. But what I see then is that particular person just likes to go into work, do their 7 to 3 or whatever, clock off, go home to his family and kids, and not have to worry about quotes, invoices, all the business stuff that go on in the background. And they just like going in, doing a day's work. But they're basically, a lot of people I know are like a second in command with that business, but they're really happy just coming in, doing their day's work and going home, presumably getting paid very well. What's a good way to keep them on board is actually give them skin in the game of like profit share or something like that, that the better they perform and the better they can get the team to perform, that will then like basically up the business as well. And it keeps them interested in the business, that they basically are like a silent director in the business as well.
Yeah, cool. Oh, yeah.
You're just talking there obviously as well, like about like the difference between the likes of what's happening here in Ireland and what's happening in Australia. And on the radio today in Ireland, they're talking about initiatives in Ireland that the government want to start running now to try and entice Irish abroad, albeit in Canada or Australia, and try and get them back into Ireland and set up as companies, because there's going to be a massive influx here needed, obviously, with the housing crisis and stuff like that. What's the draw in Australia for contractors right now setting up compared to what you might hear about lads coming from Ireland that might have been struggling maybe and wanting to set up here?
So are you saying that, like, why would you come back, or what would, like, so I think like what I've seen as well is my sister recently moved back probably 3 years ago now, and I've read so many forums. I've spoken to people that have moved back. They don't make it easy for people to move back from Australia. They do not make it easy. There's like, your insurance goes through the roof because you haven't been named under your parent or something like that for many years. You're just seen as somebody that's starting from scratch, and it's hard enough for somebody living here to get a mortgage, not to mind somebody that just moves back to get a mortgage as well. So I think they don't make it easy for people abroad to move back. If they did, I feel like they would get a fair few coming back, because what we see in Australia with a lot of our friends is the second kid syndrome of, they have the second child out in Australia, both parents are Irish, and they're like, we've got no support around us, we've got no network, and that draws a lot of people back. And my sister came back with my niece, and that was the first, and they're after having the second now. And it was purely, a lot of it was the support network around them as well, just to have like a pair of hands and just to give them a helping hand getting back.
Do they feel forgotten over there in a sense, as an Irish abroad?
Yeah,
it's a small world, because there's so much that sort of keeps us tied together abroad. Like, but at the same time, like what you're saying, to come home, you feel like you're a forgotten citizen.
Yeah, it's funny because like it's very hard to describe it, but anybody that's lived abroad for a number of years, for me no particular, I'm gone 15 years and I've got this. It's what I would call torn of like, where's your home? It's like Ireland will always be my home. I went out there at 22. I'm now 37, and that's my adult years have been there. Like all I like know and do in the workspace out there is like I wouldn't know what to do with myself coming back here. Even if I was like I'd do electrical day in day out in Ireland or in Australia. If I was to come back and do it in Ireland, I would be rusty as anything. Like I wouldn't know the first thing about the regulations. I'd have to sit down. Somebody would have to show me how all the new regulation stuff work again. But it's a strange feeling that now I feel torn. When I come back, my mates are my mates. They're the best in the world, and I'll meet up and it's like I was never away. But at the same time, like I've missed 15 years of their, events, weddings, all of that. And I've missed stuff like that I won't get back again. Even family stuff, like I've missed weddings and stuff like that as well. And just events in the family and big milestones that it's weird, and you miss those things, but like that's what you sacrifice to live over there. And my wife and I have a fantastic life there now, and we're very grateful of that country, that it's a fantastic country. And I think if you work hard, anybody works hard, they put their head down, the opportunity there is massive, I think.
What was the idea or the draw of going to Australia? Was it purely to go and work, or was it was the aim to set up a new life for yourself, or was it just see how it goes type of thing?
I ran from the GFC. I straight up I was working in I did my apprenticeship here in Ireland, and that was from 2005 to 2009. At the end of 2009, things were getting like 2008, 2009 was getting very bad. 2007 was really the decline with the recession. And I then, at the end of 2009, I was offered to go to Germany to finish my apprenticeship. And that was basically Voss, now Solus, had an agreement with the German government, and it was they paid half the wages each or something. So we went over to Cologne, and there was 12 of us, and I managed to niggle my good mate Con in with me as well. So one guy, once I got my results in from Voss, say I passed, I was straight on the phone to say like, I want to go, like my results are in, like what's the next step? She goes, oh, that's brilliant, because one of the other electricians failed, and I knew my buddy had passed, and I was just like, are you looking for another lad? Rang him, and he was like, yep, I'll go. Just two of us jumped. So it was great crack. Like Germany was brilliant. It was just the experience. It was just 12 Irish guys, and we stayed in a hostel. We had the hostel to ourselves, but it was just 12 of us in there. Made some really good friends in there, and it was an excellent experience. But what happened then was that all ended. I went back to Ireland, and it was still tumbleweeds in Ireland. I then was working with a guy, and he said, I've got a mate out in Australia and Sydney. You should go out there for a crack. And I was like, all right, let's check this out. So he rang his mate, and he was like, yeah, there's a job out there. I got back onto Con, and I was like, let's go. I was like, will you come with me? And he was like, yeah, I'll go. So he rang his mate, you have two jobs. And he's like, yeah. So we just packed our bags, got our visas, went out there completely blind, no accommodation. Got out there, like literally went to a pub that said accommodation over it. Like, and went up to the counter, like 2 rooms, please. And they were like, we don't do accommodations. Like, could have fooled me. It's like, it's over the door. But that was actually the Cock and Bull. You probably heard of that bar. That's now flat, and they've changed it, but it had accommodation over it. And 2 idiots, like green as the grass outside, just trying to get accommodation. But then
point in a bed,
yeah, exactly. But then yeah, we settled that day. The next day we rang the guy that was meant to be our contact, and he had no work, and we're across the world. So we're just like, fuck.
What's the process of arriving, finding your feet, being a bit sort of, maybe starstruck as well with the size and how fast things move over there, but then you get the bit of a shock where somebody tells you there's ARTC licenses that need to be got, there's money that needs to be spent in order to actually work as an electrician.
I think to be honest, I was scared. I was massively overwhelmed. When we landed, I was like, what the fuck have we done? Like I was just like, we're across the world. We don't have any job. There was panic. Like me and Con were just trying to find work and stuff. And like, we were looking at Seek and stuff, which is like to find a job or whatnot. we're looking at that, trying to get work, and like nobody would look at us because we didn't have an electrical license and we're backpackers or whatever. So no one would look at us, and we just fell in with like a labour hire company. And like, I won't lie, the first year or two were shit in Australia. It was just overwhelmed. Like, is like, do we have work next week? Like, what company are we going to work with next? How long is the work going to last with them? It's funny, my girlfriend at the time, my now wife, we were at a barbecue, and one of our friends, like, I'm an electrician, so he's from local to her as well. So they all knew each other, like a clique of friends together. And I just went to a barbecue with them. He goes, we got chatting. He's like, what do you do? He's like, oh, electrician. And then he goes, oh, I think our company's looking for guys. And I was like, oh, brilliant. So I'll get the details or whatever. So to get my electrical license, I went to Adelaide. So I went out to South Australia to loophole it. So over 4 days, you can do an intensive course, which it wasn't too intense, to be honest. You do that for 4 days after you get your trade recognized. And you, when you get that, you can get your South Australian license, and then you mutually swap it over through mutual recognition. So I got my New South Wales license to work in Sydney through that. But while I was down there, I called that company and I said, hey, look, I got your number from this fella, and I'm looking for work, whatever. And the guy goes, oh, brilliant. Can you start on Monday? And this was like Thursday or something like that. I was like, yeah, brilliant. I was like, yeah, see you Monday. And then then I start on Monday, and I won't say his name. He goes, where's that guy? And he goes, oh, we fired him. So basically I took his place. And that week then, I think it was the very first day I worked at that company. I'd played around with cars a lot when I was growing up, and I knew like the basics of car electrics. And I was working with a guy, he's a good mate of mine now, Swaney, and he was really stressed out with the van. So his van was, I think the brake lights were staying on and they wouldn't go off, and they had to bring the van to the garage to get serviced. He was in the middle of this job trying to get it finished. And I said to him, did you try the brake pedal? And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, that's where the switch is, like that stay. That's where probably stick and stay on. He goes, what do you mean? I was like, you've W40. So he gave me W40, sprayed it on the accelerator or the brake, and then he's like, what the fuck do you do? And I was just like, I'll put WD-40 on it. It's gone off. He's like, yep. And he's like, fuck yeah. And then like that week I think it was like the next day I was asked would I like sponsorship. So they were like, let's tie this guy down. Then I ended up working with that company for 4 years, and it was a great company to work, like good crew, good guys, good laugh, and spent 4 years with them. But yeah,
I've always wondered, just for, so say you get your license over there, and you're talking about, different aspects of, say, Adelaide or Perth or wherever it is. What's the difference between having a license in one province to another?
It's so bad. You have to get one every state. It's a money racket. It's the exact same rules.
Regs wise, it's the same. Yeah?
They're talking about bringing it into a national license, but it's literally, it's a money racket. Like, I went mining for about 2 months, and I was trying mines in Northern Territory, Queensland, and Perth. So to be in the running for them all, I actually had 3 licenses, and the most expensive is typically was Perth. That was like $400 or something in Western Australia to get that one. I think Queensland, Northern Territory were pretty cheap. They were like under $100, but they knew everybody wanted to head there for the mines and stuff. So
plenty of money coming in anyway.
Yeah, but like it's stupid. But they have got it. It'd be like having a Munster license, Connacht, Leinster, Ulster, as opposed to one license, which makes no sense. But it's a money racket.
On a fair play to
Yeah.
Look, you mentioned the car and the tinkering with cars and engines and whatever else. But what steered you, excuse the pun, in the direction of becoming an electrician in the first place?
So I think playing around with cars, I think when I was 16, 17, like, it was just like living in the country. It was like, can't wait to drive, like a bit of freedom kind of thing. So I was always into cars and just kind of tinkering around with them, doing bits and pieces to them. And then there was wiring involved with that. And I think I started doing that, and I was like, this is fun. This is enjoyable to put a circuit together and it works. And then from that, I was like, I think I want to be an electrician, like set my standards sky high. I was like, I want to be an electrician. And I then went, basically didn't really care about school during the leaving cert and stuff like that. I remember I got it was actually my mother heard an ad in the radio, showing the age. And she was like, there's a guy looking for an apprentice or whatever. I think I had the job during my leaving. I had the start during my leaving cert, and I really didn't care. And I did my leaving cert or whatever, but I didn't really care, put much effort in, because I knew that was the journey I was going in. So yeah, that all came about.
What marks did you get?
Not too many.
It never really matters, does it? But school, as a sense, like, it can be quite a heavy aspect that we sort of push on here, and we ask the guests like to talk about, like, where they grew up and school experience. So we'll try and bring it back a little bit as well, like your local town, growing up in it, sports and stuff like that. Was there anything else maybe that might have interested you in the town, like other than school, that would have maybe?
So I was big in sport. Like, I used to play football. I used to play soccer, and when I went out to Australia, I actually gave up. I gave up sports for a while because it's kind of getting my bearings. And like first few years were rough between moving in between places, trying to find work, stable work, and just like really finding your feet. And it wasn't like 2 years in until I really found my feet. But then I was playing sports always in Ireland. Then I actually took it up 3 or 4 years into living in Australia. I'm still playing it now. But yeah, growing up, football and soccer was big with me as well. Loved playing that. But then I think everything just got put in the back burner when I moved back to Australia.
It can be a door opener as well, sports, but also just for mentally as well. Because I think for anybody who finds school to be not their cup of tea, I think it's great to be able to have something else like in their day to day or week to week, like the likes of sports, to keep you mentally sound,
Yeah, because I think like a lot of my friends now are good friends, or basically networked and met them through sports. And yeah, it's like a mafia as well in some places where you go. Because I know, like, I think New York and Boston are huge in the football scene, that if you play football, they'll find you a job and all that. It's very similar in Sydney as well. Football and hurling is huge. That if you are a good hurler or footballer, you actually just give a shit and you play with them. They'll look after you, and it's a little clique as well. But always enjoy playing the sport.
It must have been like a thing where you see sports as a staple within, say, Irish culture as well, and people are looking at the GA, and like we see people, like, it's obviously you don't get paid for the GA over here, like, so it's all about the heart and getting into it. And you'll see lads playing GA, like in, like you said, America and down in Australia with the Aussie rules and stuff like that. Like, so there's definitely a different aspect to the sport, I think, within Irish people compared to anywhere else in the world, to try and, sort of interlink with each other. But is that something as well where you're thinking of, you're down in Australia, you're networking with Irish guys, you're trying to, try and keep a bit of home as well within your heart, like, and eventually you go into thinking, right, I'm going to go out on my own now, I'm going to set up my own business over there. And a little ode to home then as well. You're thinking, right, I've got to call that business Westcork.
Yeah.
On the other side of the world. Like,
yeah. So I think Westcork is somewhere that, like, it holds deep in my heart. I did want to bring that across. But I think, yeah, it's a lot of the guys, like, it's funny how you kind of, when you first go to Australia, or I think a lot of people do it, I think Aussies do it as well when they go to like London and stuff, they go straight to an Aussie bar. Like, our haunts were just like Irish bars, Irish community. But as we got older and like the holiday ended and we became, professionals and like had to go to work and stuff like that, actually show up, was like, we ended up kind of moving away from that scene as well, in Sydney, and just moving into the inner west a bit away from your Bondis and Coogis and stuff. And I think, like, it's sad because you get such good friends. You build up such good friends with the Irish, and then slowly they'll drop off, like one by one. They'll start heading home, or it's a very select few that will actually stick around. Particularly with kids. Kids are really what's going to determine their, like, the strength, that if they can stick it without the network around them as well.
Would you have noticed, though, with the name Westcork over there, like I say, like with the sports and obviously, with the networking and stuff, that people might like sort of get drawn to the Irish family or the Irish friends, that if somebody was looking for an electrician and you're an Irish couple or you're an Irish group over there, you see Westcork, you're going to give that lad a ring. Yeah,
it's funny, the amount of Cork heritage with the Aussies is crazy. Like, a lot of people do pick it. Like, they'll end up like, either I'll have the job and I'll be in the door and they'll be like, what part of West Cork are you from? And I'm like, see, what the crack is. or else like I was sitting having coffee the other day, and one guy was kind of staring at the van, old Aussie guy, and then he walked along and he goes, he said to me, he goes, is the boss from West Cork? And I goes, I am. And then he goes, oh, what part of Cork? And he was buzzing. He was like, his like grandfather was from like Kinsale or something like that. And he was like all about West Cork and stuff like that. But like just a bit of nostalgia for him. But it's crazy. It's like so many people I've worked for like have huge Cork heritage in them from Australia. So it must have been where all the convicts came from back in the day.
Well, come here. Obviously, your early experience in business over there probably led you to what you do today. But what were the first initial hurdles that you had to overcome when you started your business over there?
So when I started the business, I started literally from zero. Like that's the thing is when you're an Aussie and you start a business, same as here. If you start an electrical business here, it's like your family will know people, your friends will know people to say like, hey, they're starting a business, like throw them a bit of work, or there'll be something you'll pick up. Like I started from zero. I literally left left the company I was working with, and I relied on like lead generation websites. So I'm not too sure are they in Ireland, but in Australia there's a few lead generation websites where somebody will need something done. They'll post the job ad and it will ping on your phone and it will say like so and so needs a job. They need like smoke alarm replaced or lights or something like that. So I started off with that. I started off getting jobs off of that, which now I despise. It's the bottom of the barrel stuff because it's all newbie guys scrounging for the work. And then I started getting fixated on marketing and business and just educating myself, which then I started implementing stuff into my business and doing things and getting educated on where it was going wrong. And that's where things changed drastically in my business and basically led me to the business it is now. And it's just putting hard work in behind the scenes to educate myself in where I was going wrong to actually succeed.
Yeah, well, we spoke before the podcast itself, and you did mention that there's a lot of coaches out there. The market's quite saturated with them. With what would you say?
Snake oil.
Yeah, basically, and where they don't have the years or the graft put in to actually be able to push it upon people that they're trying to coach. But you obviously went through the trenches and then come out the other end of it. So it obviously becomes more valuable when people get like the likes of this podcast. You get that story out, and people pick up on that and they become invested in you as a person as well. Do you think that's important?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that like when you start out and you basically don't know what you're doing, and there's so many coaches out there that they sell you the dream and they haven't been there in the trenches. But like I literally have put blood, sweat and tears into that company, and it was like the first few years were really, really hard. Like I ended up working for builders. I don't work for builders now. I drew a line in the sand. I don't work with builders, real estate, strata. Strata would be the building manager. So I don't do any of that work because it just stressed the shit out of me. I know I just work directly for mums and dads and stuff, but and just homeowners, direct to homeowners, people that pay the bill. I don't deal with middlemen. If I've got to go through somebody that's paying a bill on the other side, I won't work with them because it's just been too much of a hardship. But there are so many people out there that are, they're just selling you the dream. And I think that's where what you see is what you get with me. I'm just raw and real, and I'll tell it as it is. And I think like that's what people appreciate. And the guys I work with at the moment, they appreciate that of like, I'm not going to tell them you're doing a really good job. If something's drastically wrong in their business, I'll call them out and say like, you need to fucking change that now. And they're doing it. And that's how they're getting results as well.
What's the timeline like for the mental inception of Simplified Sparky from actually translating what you're doing in West Cork into what you're doing now? How long did that take to actually get up and running?
So I when I started my business, I got coaching and I loved it. Like I loved learning. Like it's funny because I didn't like school. Like I hated school. I didn't hate school. School it's taught badly. I feel like the system is built to help you work for the system. That it suits people that can suck in huge amounts of information, store it in their brain, and then regurgitate that onto a page come exam time, which that wasn't me. And I think that's where it goes wrong, is like, I never liked like business studies or anything like that. And in hindsight, I probably would have loved it if it was taught better, or as like if it taught you to be more entrepreneurial. But I think that the school system is taught badly. But I ended up getting a lot of coaching along the way, and then I loved that, and I loved going out and then speaking to a mate that's a plumber, telling him an insight or telling him like something that I've learned, and then he would do it, implement it, and it would work in his business. And it gave me fulfillment, and I wanted to do what I'm doing now about 5 years ago, but I was too scared to take a leap. I was just a coward to be like, what will people think of me?
Yeah.
And right now I don't give a shit like what people think of me. And I think the older you get in life, nobody really cares about you anyway. They care about themselves. So it's like, just do what you want to do. And the last few years, I've had a lot of family scares in my own family with my mom and dad. So that's inspired me massively to just pull the trigger and start doing it, and have the flexibility that, like right now, if I do need to come back, I can just grab my laptop and a suitcase, and that's my office. But I think that it took me years to actually jump off the ledge and just be like, fuck it, I'm going to do this. And I am so glad I did, because as I was saying to you earlier, for the podcast, I spoke to a client in New Zealand, a client in Western Australia, and a client in New South Wales. It's just, you can speak to anybody all over the world from the laptop, and it's just massively fulfilling for me to have actually taken the leap, implemented stuff that the coach that I work with, he's telling me what to do. Excellent guy. Only for him, I wouldn't be where I am now. And because of that, I now know how to guide my students underneath me as well. So it's awesome.
Do you find your clients thrive, obviously having you there to become, I suppose, more accountable to themselves? Do you think you need someone, above you to be accountable to?
I think as I said as well for the podcast, that with my own podcast, I think a lot of people resonate with stuff I'm saying, or like I'll give a situation where I've stuffed up in the past, or I've made a massive mistake, and they'll be like, I nearly did that only for listening to that podcast. And what's annoying is people are saying to me, you're giving too much away in the podcast. So I'm just like, I've got to hone it in a bit, because that's why some of the members have signed up, because they were like, fuck, you've given so much value in the podcast. What do you get on the inside? So that's look, it like
the OnlyFans.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's the side hustle. But yeah, it's crazy that, like, I think basically somebody needs a shoulder to lean on, and just somebody to guide them along the journey, because there's an author out there, Donald Miller, and he's got a book called Building a Story Brand, and it speaks about, if you look at any movie, there's a hero and a guide, and always the guide will bring the hero along the whole story. And my job is to be the guide, and they're to be the hero. And that's what I say to them, as well as, like, they need to be the guide and their client is the hero. So if you're installing something for your fans or lights or sockets or whatever, they need to make the client feel fantastic and guide them along the way as well. And that's kind of the whole principle.
Do you remember your first client?
Yeah, I do. I actually do. Yeah. And
what was that first one like?
So the first client for electrical.
I presume you were your first client anyway. Yeah, just talking. But I suppose in terms of solving that problem for someone, the first person, like, was that a great feeling? Like,
I remember for the Simplified Sparky. Yeah. So I told you that, and the fucker never even told me till today. I was on the call with him, and I just asked him how things are going and chatting away, and then he just goes like, so I implemented what you said, and I've doubled my hourly rate. And he was like, and quotes are getting accepted. And I was like, fucking brilliant. I was like, why didn't you tell me this? He's like, I just didn't think I needed to. And I was like, this is what I was like, I fucking love this. So I was like,
it's probably building for
you. But no, so it's very, very fulfilling that, like, I've given this explanation to a lot of people of, like, I'm 20 years at electrical now, and it's like, if I go into a room and I change one of these lights, these troffers, or like a socket on the wall, it's like, I charge somebody, they mightn't necessarily want to give me money, they just need to get it done, and it's not fulfilling. Whereas like if someone can pay me and I can tell them something and it can return their investment like 100 times, that's massively fulfilling for me, and it's value to them as well, that they're like, that was money well spent. That's an investment, not an expense. Whereas like these can be seen as expenses, and I don't get a kick out of doing electrical. I get like a thrill. Like I'm not a big gambler. I wouldn't even bet. I probably might bet like $50 every 6 months or something like that. But like I compare getting results with a client to winning a bet, where like that dopamine hit of like, I told him to do this, he did it, and now he's like doubled his hourly rate or whatever. That gives me an ultimate kick.
Without giving obviously too much away, could you, in layman's terms, go through the framework of the before, during, and after that you spoke about before?
So how it all operates is, what I focus massively on is the client journey. So what is lost is like, marketing is so many moving parts. It's like the before phase when a client doesn't even know you. So that's where I work on their niche, what kind of work they want to do, the target market, who's that person that's you're going to be paying the money that's in that niche. And then the messaging single-handedly is one of the most important things in marketing to attract your ideal client. Because if you've got the wrong message to the right client, it's not going to work. Or if you have the right message to the wrong client, it's also not going to work. So your message needs to hit home. I actually had a session the other day with the guys, and I gave an example of shampoo. You walk into a shop, and if like say somebody's got really frizzy hair, and they go to an aisle, and there's a bottle on the left that just says shampoo, and the bottle on the right, left, right, is going to say frizzy hair shampoo. What one is she going to pick? Like that is how powerful messaging is. Because if you just say electrician, what do you do? And that's why messaging is so powerful. So that is the before phase, and now you're starting to get that all together. Now next it moves on to the during phase, which is your media. So your website, your socials, any flyers, brochures, stuff like that. That's your media. So then we focus on where exactly you're going to spend your time, because a big mistake is people go, let's do TikTok, let's do Instagram, let's do this. It's like, you only need to focus on a few core things. To be honest, in Australia, your website and Google Business Profile are the top two. Your Google My Business, whatever it's been called now, they're the top two things to focus on. From there, then the leads are starting to come into the business. So then I work on the lead handling system. So as I spoke earlier, ServiceMate is my go-to for the job management. And that is then the client comes in, how's it handled in the system? Are you handling it correctly? Have you got your automation set up? Have you got your follow-up set up? Everything that you need to quote, then it moves into the lead conversion stage, where we focus on converting that lead and getting the money in. So that's all the necessary credibility you need to attach to the quote, how you deliver everything as well. So what I pull a lot of guys up on is they'll sign up to a platform like Xero or even ServiceMate, and they won't alter the generic template. It will just say like, dear madam, sir, here's your quote attached. I'm like, that bit alone is massive, that if you alter that to tailor your ideal client, it just makes you stand out as a point of difference, and the authority and stuff as well that you have to attach to that, even down to how to price and quote. I cover that as well. So I think you had a post on this actually recently on your Instagram, that hourly rate versus fixed pricing. Like I only do fixed pricing. Never ever give an hourly rate away. So I purely work on fixed pricing. And that kind of covers the during stage. We move into the after, where you've got the job, is delivering a world-class experience. And that is how you wow the clients, that they want you back for more work, how you even right down to where you park your vehicle. Of like, one of the stickler things is don't park in their driveway. Their driveway, their home is their, as they say in Australia, your home is your castle. It's a cliche, cheesy saying. But I will always ask to park in their driveway, because they might need to get out, or they might be like, geez, that was rude, he parked in my driveway. So it's a psychological thing that's massive, of not to park in their driveway. So it goes through that of how to deliver a world-class experience. Then it's turbocharged profits, which is on-site sales, and also just other areas to make more profit for your business. And then finally, where everybody drops the ball, is client retention. So with that part, it focuses in on email marketing, SMS marketing, basic client retention. And it isn't like an email every week or whatever. Nobody wants to hear from their electrician every week. It's just a certain trigger every it could be 7, 8, 9 weeks. You're just purely rocking up at their door saying, hey, just giving you a bit of value, not selling and moving on again. And that employee never takes a sick day. It's always working. Like, you just set and forget. And every few weeks they'll get triggered an email with a value bomb. And all you want is to rock up at their door to say like, hey, remember me? And then go on your business again. Because what you're hoping is they go out for dinner with their friend that weekend or 2 weeks later and they go, I need electrical done. And you're top of mind straight away, that they're like, you need to get this electrician. They're really good. They always give me information. They did a great job in our house. And then that's basically the whole system. So it's about there's a lot of moving parts, but it's a full flywheel. And why it's a flywheel is the client retention basically puts them back into the system. So it goes around again. That's where everybody drops the ball, is they don't plug in the marketing nurture system at the end.
I need to go.
I was just
I'm
saying,
going to send a few emails. I'm sweating here.
Because so if you don't stay in front of your clients, the next guy, or they'll however they found you. I know here, like particularly rural with me, it's a lot of word of mouth. So I've got 2 very successful mates that are plumbers, and they don't have a website or anything. They just roll off word of mouth. They don't need a website. But like cities and stuff, you move to cities, you move to Sydney, you move to London, you better be in front of your clients, because they're just going to go, I found that last guy through Google. So they'll go back onto Google, electrician, suburb, whatever. Next guy comes in and you've just lost that client. That could have been hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, no matter how
placement, isn't it? Like you as the contractor is the product.
No matter how good you think you are, like, you know what I mean, there is always going to be someone that's better than
crafty bastard.
Like some wizard.
One of my clients.
Yeah. But there's has AI been a game changer for you?
I love it. Yeah. I'm going to do a live session. I'm actually I'm buzzing with excitement. So I'm doing a live session with my members next week, because there was stuff I found out last week that I didn't even know I could do, and I was just like, fuck. I geek out fully on all that. Like I think that's why I love it. It's like I nerd out on the back end of business. Like I love all the moving parts, the automations, the softwares, like plugging them all together. And then AI down top of it is just like pouring petrol on a fire. So I'm not too sure you aware what, like, ServiceMate is huge in Australia. I think predominantly in the UK as well, is quite big. They've just released a feature that's AI phone answering. So one of the biggest things is people being time poor, or they're up on a roof or under a floor or something like that, and the phone is ringing. They're just like, I can't get to it. Or they'll just be like, and they're just launching it. You can set this up and you can program it yourself that it will answer the phone. Like, you can give it a name, you can give it a personality. You can give it the script to follow that. Like, when you answer the phone, ask X, Y, and Z. You could even, like, it's something I'm toying with as well, is because people are quite sketchy with AI and robots, that they're like, is this a scam? So like I'm playing around with mine at the moment, but to say, like, if it is asked if it's a bot, I have a program to say, look, this is actually an AI answering machine. Yeah, no, give me your credit card details. But it will say, yes, this is an AI answering service, but rest assured I'm smarter than Alan. So I'll put it, so it kind of like disarms the situation.
Yeah.
But it can do that, and they've also released a feature as well, which is it's AI assistant, that AI agent, that it will actually. At the moment, I've got a virtual assistant in my business that's based in the Philippines, and she comes in for a few hours a day, and she does little monotonous things in the background, like emails, move stuff around, follow-ups and stuff like that can't be automated. They've now developed something that is basically going to plug into ServiceMate. It's there, but I'm on the wait list for the trial of it. I've got a connection in there, so I'm hoping that I get it quicker. But it's basically it's basically a plugin that will start doing all these little automations in the background without you being there. And this excites me so much for my members, because a lot of them are guys that are just starting out business, that are want to get their stuff together, or guys that have been in business a while, and like one of the biggest time wastes and time sucks in their business is the admin and answering phones when you're at work and stuff like that. Because at least if they can get the phone answered, gather the information, and get that into the system, that it will make quoting and stuff a lot easier. Because I'd say 95% of my stuff I quote from a laptop. I don't actually go out to site at all. And that's what I teach my members as well, is all this can be done remotely, just using strategies and softwares that are out there. And I'm really hoping that the AI level goes up and up, that it makes it even easier, that eventually a bot can get all this information, which is quite crazy.
Is that something that you're obviously going to be, obviously within your own business, is that something you're actively going to be pushing to clients as well?
Yeah, well, it's an option, and like once they have that software, it's basically an add-on. So if they want to unlock it, they just pay an extra couple of dollars per month, and then that'll unlock like the service-made phones.
Yeah,
and then that is going to unlock the phones, and then you can have like a during hours and after hours. So I think to stick a toe in the water, a lot of people will set up the after hours, that like if somebody calls, it's 5-6 p.m. that the answering service takes, saying, "Hey, look, we're out of office hours. I'll just take a message and Alan will give you a ring back in the morning. I'll just grab some details."
Yeah.
And that AI agent, I wish I had it rigged up now, because I could actually give a demo of it. But it will basically say like, what's your first name, second name, address, email. And what I've got it to do as well is, after it asks for the email, I ask for it to confirm the email as well, just so it makes sure that the email is vital, that it catches it exactly. Little things like that. It's going to be teething, like most of the cool new products they bring out. Every year they release really cool features. You'll be jumping on ServiceMate next.
I think I will, yeah.
And they're always released up, but there's teething. Like it'll take about 6 months to a year to actually come to fruition with that as well. But I'm always excited with AI and tech and stuff that will make essentially our businesses a lot easier to run. And just like, it's like a little staff member.
Easier as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Takes a lot of stress away from everything. Obviously, myself and Keith do the podcast. We have white guests in, and obviously we, share our sort of day to days and little tips and tricks where we can. But what was the goal for yourself to get in front of the mic?
So with starting Simplified Sparky, my goal is to eventually sell my electrical business. And I think something really cool that I'm planning on doing is, like, I'm seeing now with Simplified Sparky is taking such traction that what seemed a dream is coming to reality sooner and sooner. So what I'm probably going to do, this is the first time I'm saying this to anyone, is because I'm going to be selling my business, is like I'm going to start documenting that journey and putting it on Instagram or YouTube or whatnot. The double-edged sword with that is the followers and stuff who are following the journey will be the buyers at the end of it. So they'll see what it basically takes to systemize the business from start to finish. And like the funny thing is, like I've spoken to some mates in the past, and they're like, "Oh, it's a one-man band business. It's not worth anything." It's like the leads are flowing in. It's like all you have to do is plug it into another business. And I've got a guy over there at the moment. That's how I operate over here. Is they either go into a wait list and they wait for me, or else they will ask them if they want a referral. If they want a referral, they get sent to my good mate Matthew. He looks after them then, and we've got an agreement cash wise and stuff like that. He plugs right into this business. Like this business is exact same as his. So once the lead gets diverted to him, he just does his thing, and very similar to how I operate the business, because I did mentor him for a little while as well. And it's very unplug and plug in, like, to another business. So I want to have it in such a way that it's like the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, that it's very easy to sell. All the data analytics are there. Because as I said, I geek out massively in this. So all of my call logs, everything, I use software for that. Everything over the last few years is logged. All the leads that have come into the business are logged. So if someone was to ask stats or analytics, it will all be there in a spreadsheet of like how many leads came in that month, how many calls came in, how many were repeat clients, how many were new clients. So that's how I want to have the business. Like, it's all there, but it's just to make it a little bit better, that it's very appealing to buy. And it's like, as this project progresses, it's just going to make that more of an investment, that the value is obviously going to go up and up and up. So that's the end goal of me.
So that's obviously an investment for, that moment in time, but also going into the future of that business, and then with kind of an eye on an exit strategy.
Yeah.
Do you think if people don't have that in place, they're just, whether they, like, I'm speaking in my own terms here, like if you're not handing it to a son or a family member, do you think the business kind of just dies with you then? That's where you're setting
It's
yourself
funny you
up.
say. I had a call with my members yesterday, and the call was on time management. And we dabbled back into systems, and I am part of an organization in Australia that's it's basically an organization for electricians, and we meet once a month and just have a few beers and a pizza or feed. When I joined that like 9 years ago, there was two old schoolers in there that were like the back end of their business, or the back end of their careers, and they just wanted to retire and get rid of their business. And they basically just rocked the normal business. They just like paper diaries, stuff like that. They had some bit of tech in there, but it wasn't well oiled. And one guy's trying to sell his business right now for peanuts, but you're buying a dead horse. You're just like, what are you actually buying? Like, he left it die as he got kind of older, and it's just kind of like, I don't really care about my business. Like, who wants to buy that and pick it up?
Is just don't want to cut across you, but is that where the business strategy, as you talked about earlier, where you're working for, say, contractors and builders that are like so heavily invested in you, but you're talking about homeowners, private homeowners.
Yeah.
You think like that's why you swayed to that rather than having the contracts?
I think that's what makes my business, in my opinion, more valuable. Is like, I don't rely on builders. I don't rely on
a household name.
Yeah, it's literally reputation for a house, and it's like, Alan doesn't necessarily have to go to the job. Like, I've rocked up to some jobs and like, oh, it's actually you doing the work. I'm like, yeah. So it's just like, if you're buying a business that's connected to like a council or a builder or something like that, you're banking on goodwill that if somebody does buy that business, that they are going to give you the work once you sign over and you now own that business. You were really hoping on a lot of goodwill that they're going to, that you could pay a couple of $100,000 for a business because it's got these contracts with builders. But the second that old owner leaves, they might be like, I don't like you, I'm going to that guy. And that could be just an absolute waste of money. And that's where I feel like,
or he set up another company. Making 100 contract.
It's a funny one, but I think like that's what I was instilling with the guys yesterday is like, even if you don't want to sell, or right now you're saying you don't want to sell, circumstances change, situations change. Maybe you'll just want an absolute career change in 10 years time. It's like, always build that business that it is there to sell. You want to build in such a way that it's structured nicely. It's got the systems in the back end, the templates that you need to send with emails and stuff like that. Everything is there and it's easy to follow, that if somebody does need to understand the business, you can just get plugged right into it. So I'm huge in that as well, of like, build it to sell even if you don't want it, because there will come a time, like it might be when you're 65 or something like that, you want to get rid of it. At least it will be worth a lot more money than just like, as you said, it will just get wound down. It'll essentially just get wound down.
Yeah.
And it will die, or someone else will take over, take your contacts, and your name and your pride is just squished.
Yeah.
That you've worked for all these years.
Apart from the social media aspect of it, how are people finding you and the business?
Predominantly the podcast has been huge. So the podcast and Instagram are the top two. YouTube is coming. There's one video on YouTube at the moment, but that is on the list. But this is where discipline comes into play, and I think this is relevant to Sparkies as well. Is when I started working with my coach, he was like, focus on one and master that and move to the next. And I think I've finally got a grasp of Instagram. I get how it works, get the bearings of it and stuff like that, because only less than a year ago, I was just finding my feet with it, just trialing, testing the water. And I figured a lot of stuff out in the meantime, but I'm focusing predominantly a podcast 100%. That's where I started, and the Instagram then to promote as well. But there's a lot of untapped resources there, because I haven't even hit Instagram or TikTok and YouTube yet, which I feel will be massive. So that's in the pipeline as well.
LinkedIn a big thing in Australia.
It is, but like it wouldn't be for me. I could try it, but it's like, it's more so just like professional. It's wanky. I don't like it. It's actually funny you mentioned it. Like, what's there's a storm coming now. Like I think it's like tonight or tomorrow. It's actually hitting like Cork and Kerry. I think it's like today even. But I'd seen like it was like a skit on Instagram just literally today, and the guy was like, yeah, mate, just want to give you a call about that post you did on LinkedIn comparing like stormophilia to running a business. It's like really good post, man, solid. And it's just like, It's like, that's the kind of shit that's posted on LinkedIn. And I'm like, it's too wanky for me. Like, I'm just like, it's not my party.
I'm 5 years in business.
Yeah. Congrats. Like, Alan likes this. But I'm just like, it's very fake. It's very corporate. And look, it could work. I might tap into that, but if I do, I'll just be raw and real in it. So I don't know how that's going to go down. It might disrupt it a bit, but yeah.
For anybody listening to our podcast, then at the minute, then that might be, intrigued about what you're doing on yours, where can they find you?
Basically, if you head over to Instagram, my name, Alan Collins, just type that in. It's probably the best place to get me. Other than that, simplifiedsparky.com. And yeah, as well, I'll give you a little link to put in the show notes as well. It basically improves electricians' marketing in 9 minutes. So they'll get trickled 1 email per day. The emails are less than a minute's read. And it's an eye-opener to ways that they can run their business. And it's completely free. And they will, once they sign up, they'll get an email from me. So if they want to reply to that as well, they hit me up with anything. That's a good way to get me as well.
Well, it's been a privilege learning all the things that I'm doing wrong in my business.
We've got to get
get you signed up, lads.
We've got to get the hardest question out of the way for this season.
Yeah, so we're starting a new Spotify playlist. You're going to be the first song on it.
I think I'm going to go with Bruce Springsteen, Dancing in the Dark, because Dancing in the Dark implies that the power's gone out. And then
it probably will be by the time you're back down to Cork.
And there's a line in it that says, "Can't start a fire without a spark." So that's turning the power back on with a Sparky. I'll go with Dancing in the Dark, Bruce Springsteen.
That's what most business owners are doing at the start as well. In the dark.
Thanks so much for having me on. Honestly, it's humbling, and it's weird to think that a few months ago I wasn't doing any of this. Like literally less than a year ago, I wasn't doing any of this, and to end up in my home country on this podcast associated with trades it's actually overwhelmingly, it's been fantastic.
We're delighted to have you.
Thanks, lads.
Cheers. Right, that's it. Season 8, episode 1 in the can. Great way to start off the new season.
Yeah, Alan, what a guest. What a great way to start it off. I think he really enlightened us with the systems that can be put in place as a business, and also to anyone looking to go abroad to Australia and maybe ply their trade over there. He gave great insights into how it works.
I guess we just do what we always do. Thank our sponsors, Robust Lighting, the world's leading LED lighting company, for their continued support.
A massive thanks to Stickers Workwear Ireland for their continued support.
Take it easy.
See you on the next one.